On Monday, June 9, Prime Minister Mark Carney did the unthinkable. He promised to immediately boost defense spending to meet the NATO spending objective of 2% of gross domestic product, GDP, within the current 2025-2026 fiscal year. It is time to target how exactly Canada can ramp up the spending that quickly and how we might use this opportunity to wean ourselves off our dependency on U.S. military hardware. The original defense budget table for this same time frame was $40 billion, or roughly 1.3% of Canada's GDP, with Carney's new directive, spending on defense and security is to balloon to $62.7 billion prior to April 1st, 2026. Now, before all those amateur mathematicians start simply subtracting the former from the latter to determine the increase, we need to keep in mind that some creative accounting is being employed by the Carney team. While there will be $9 billion in new spending, the rest of the boost will come from rolling spending from other government departments into the Department of National Defence's accounting ledger. The most prominent among those moves will see the Canadian Coast Guard becoming essentially a fourth branch of the Canadian Armed Forces, rather than reporting to the Department of Fisheries. Other announced spending increases include a 20% pay raise for service members, retention bonuses, and special allowances for training exercises. It was also announced that D&D will hire an additional 1,400 civilian workers to take some of the strain off our overstretched and understaffed combat forces. Carney also announced that additional medical staff will be hired to improve access to health care for CAF members. However, given the state of Canada's healthcare facilities nationwide, I'm not sure exactly where he believes those personnel are to be found. In that same June 9 speech, Carney repeated his previous statements that Canada needs to move away from our current heavy reliance on the U.S. for our military equipment purchases. This is, of course, in light of President Donald Trump's continued threats to annex Canada into becoming the 51st state through economic measures, such as crippling tariffs.
We should no longer send 3/4 of our defense capital spending to America. In parallel, we are actively seeking to strengthen transatlantic security, particularly by becoming a participant in Rearm Europe. This will help diversify our military suppliers.
For the record, Carney also ordered a review of the acquisition of 88 F-35 fighter jets from Lockheed Martin. At present, Canada has only contracted to purchase the first 16 of those F-35s. A clear way to demonstrate to Canadians that Carney is not simply posturing would be to cancel our order for the remaining 62 F-35s that are on the order book and instead purchase a similar number of Saab Gripen fighter jets. The Gripen was the last remaining challenger to the F-35s in the competition to find a replacement for Canada's aging fleet of CF-18s. For anyone about to argue against Canada operating a mixed fleet of fighter aircraft, the RCAF used to do just that only a couple of decades ago. During the transition from CF-104 Starfighters to the CF-18 Hornets, Canada also had several squadrons of CF-116 Freedom fighters. One also only needs to look at the Australian example. With a smaller population and GDP than Canada, the RAAF presently operates 24 F-18 Super Hornets and 72 F-35 Lightnings. It has also been argued that the operating and maintenance costs of the Gripen are far less than those of the F-35. While the F-35s are built entirely in the U.S., Saab of Sweden has offered an option for Canada to assemble the Gripens under license. A similar arrangement was successfully implemented in Brazil. Now, before anyone gets their elbows too far up over this proposed solution, keep in mind that the engines for the Gripen are still manufactured in the U.S. In other words, Trump would still be getting a chunk of cheese, just not the whole damn thing. Also, the review that Carney has ordered into the F-35 purchase is being conducted by the very same Air Force officers who have steadfastly maintained that they want the F-35 and only the F-35 since the outset. Do not expect a different outcome this time around. They're simply going through the motions to appease Carney and to stall for time until the current spat with Trump blows over. Good luck with that. This has been On Target. I'm Scott Taylor.